What is ihram and when would you put it on? So in this specific answer, because of the nature of the ihram of guys, I'm going to focus in on a bloke's ihram, a man's ihram. For women, they can actually wear whatever they want to wear in terms of the normal Islamic kind of attire. That's by and large the case. Obviously, there's the issue about face covering, etc., on Hajj not being something that one would do, but that's a separate discussion. Ihram itself is above all a state of being, a state of devotion and mindset and commitment to see the journey and the process of Hajj itself through to the end. Of course, if there are extenuating circumstances, there are separate rulings and guidelines about that sort of scenario altogether. But it is that moment where you, at the point of miqat, the designated entry points of the state of ihram, as you're either on land, by sea, or by air, you pass those areas or close to that area as possible, you'd be informed of that, and that's when you'd be saying labbaik Allahumma labbaik, and you actually enter the intention of ihram. And also for men, you'd be assuming that state of ihram and symbolizing it through the certain specific garments, which is basically what's termed unstitched garments. Basically, they're not actually sewn up in the form of taking the shape of our limbs the way that, let's say, a suit would or a shirt would or one's trousers or the like. So it's something which is just the two open-ended cloths that's worn. When would you put this on? Now, here's where I have to try and share some tricks of the trade, so to speak, right? There are different options, I guess, that you could try and explore. One of the options you'll find people doing, obviously, is they come to the airport. So let's say in London, you're coming into London Heathrow, you put your ihram on from home, you've already bathed, and you put your ihram on, the two, typically speaking, white towels or sheets, and you come to the airport and you keep it on all the way until you are approaching the miqat. And at that point you just form the intention and you'd say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, etc. But another method which some people have used themselves, I'm not going to give any hints of who does this, is actually to obviously bathe from home. You've applied perfume, you've prepared yourself fully, your body, etc., grooming, etc. And at that point you put on the ihram in terms of the lower part of the ihram. That's from waist downwards, just that cloth. And on top of that, you may choose to wear something else. I don't mean you put trousers on top of that towel. That would look like an uncomfortable image, even in my mind right now. But what you do instead is maybe, for example, what I guess people call the thobe or the jalabiya, dish dash, whatever you want to call it. You put that on top. You wear, the upper part, some normal clothing, and a jacket or whatever is suitable for the weather at that time. You might wear that all the way, through Heathrow, through the the flight, up until 10-15 minutes prior to reaching the miqat. At which point you'd maybe go and use the facilities, if you can do wudu, which is obviously what I myself would have done. Do wudu, and then you sit back down, having put the other piece of the ihram on, and obviously having removed and packed away the other parts of your clothing that you came with. And with that, you're able to not have to try and tie the whole ihram while you're up in the air and kind of the airplane's moving you and shaking you one way and the other. So it's a bit more, if you like, neat, and you're not such a mess after all. So that's a slightly smoother way of doing it as well. And you don't have to go through the inconvenience and the cold and the different weather as well. So that's my preferred suggestion. But maybe you prefer the other way. So that's in terms of when and how you do it. And the what of the ihram is ultimately, above all, the mindset and the intention you entering the state of ihram, which you would accompany with this amazing talbiyah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Labbaik la sharika laka labbaik. Inna alhamda wa ni'mata laka wal mulk. La sharika lak. I'm responding to you and your call, O Allah. I'm responding to your call. There is no God worthy of worship except for you. Indeed, all praise belongs to you and dominion, and there is no God worthy of worship except for you.